Yeah, sure. Okay. So this is now with OLs and student staff. Okay, that's what I figured when I saw how many pages it was compared to yesterday. Student staff in Res Life, you heard me mention yesterday that we would be going over our COVID-19 education. So a little bit of background. So the online Moodle that everyone should have done, if you haven't, you're going to get an email from me this week reminding you to complete that. That was done as mandatory for all students. So all students are supposed to be doing that regardless of even if they are coming back to campus. So if they are taking classes remotely, we're still asking them to complete that. Pretty much the same as like alcohol, EDU education, those sorts of things. So to go along with that, College Life has realized that it's also important for us to think about how can we engage our students more from hearing from other students. So what we've done is we've come up with some content, and our goal is to actually make this so then that way students that are in leadership positions are able to then execute this within their own organizations or their own social circles, that sort of thing. Okay. So this is just a draft. I will take any feedback that you all possibly can give me, those sorts of things. So we know, right, based on all the research that's out there right now, that students respond better hearing from their peers rather than hearing from me. So imagine that I'm one of your peers right now during this time. So you can think about, would this be something that you would be able to facilitate? We are planning on providing talking points like a script, but you can always add your own voice to it, those sorts of things. At the same time, we also want to make this somewhat conversational. So I saw during trivia, y'all are able to unmute yourselves pretty well and give each other space to do that. So we do have some time, a couple questions throughout that I would love if you all could give feedback, just as if you were a participant during, like, watching this presentation with a peer presenting. And then at the end, I'll take any feedback, thoughts that you all might have. One thing to say, this is still a draft. There are still some meetings that we are having this week to incorporate some additional content into this. So unfortunately, once we made the announcement about returning, it was just like everyone hit the ground running. So we've had some meetings that have had to been shuffled around and rescheduled. So hopefully it would not change too much, but we just want to add some more things into this because we think it's important. So are y'all ready? Can I get like a thumbs up? Nod, shaking heads. Yes, perfect. I love it. All right. So let me share my screen with you all. And I got to make sure. Okay. All right. I got to move things around because otherwise I don't see people as well. So I apologize. Okay. So we'll roll right into this right now. So not an original title. We're working on that too. So, all right, so typically we do an introduction. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Amanda Blauer. I am Gettysburg College's Title IX coordinator and somehow got roped into completing a lot of education around COVID-19. I joked it's probably because I'm trained in more student presentations, right? Like different types of presentations from different organizations than I care to admit. So hopefully, if you don't know me, we will get a chance to maybe see each other in passing over the next couple days. I know I'll be on campus tomorrow morning to assist with move-in stuff. So a little bit of overview of what we're going to talk about today. So I want to review the key ways that we can continue to be better together. As you know, that is what Gettysburg College is, our campaign coming back. We want to remain better together. So we're going to touch on these things. I know that you all know these. I know it's in the Moodle education. I know you see probably tons of stuff on this on social media too. So We're just going to review it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what to do if you see someone not following guidelines. Then we're going to talk about why this all matters. Before we get into that, I really want to hear from you all. What concerns do you have about coming back this school year as it relates to COVID-19? And anyone who wants to share can do that. Unmute if you're comfortable.
I am just a little nervous I think this was brought up yesterday when we were talking about the health agreement at the very beginning, about students being honest about their symptoms and how accurately we can do the contact tracing, and if students were in closer proximity in a class with a student who tests positive, what routes would be taken after that, but more so just accountability.
Yeah, so in terms of contact tracing, that's definitely something that I think is on everyone's minds. In terms of accountability, I know that there have been a flurry of emails that we are getting. I am assisting Ron this year with accountability when it comes to students not following guidelines. So we have a pretty strong structure in place, and it seems like we're probably gonna be utilizing that pretty quickly. So, but that's not uncommon about other students being concerned about, are my peers going to be honest if they have symptoms? I think even now for myself, I oftentimes sit there and I think to myself, okay, is this a sore throat because of allergies, or is this a sore throat because I possibly came into contact with someone? So I think we're all sort of having that second guessing component going on in our heads. Does anyone else want to share some concerns that they have about, coming back to campus?
Yeah, I'll share one.
Thank you.
Are Gettysburg students actually going to be able to go a whole semester without partying?
I think a lot of the administration echoes that concern. So I will say that I think we all have that concern, and it's going to look very different. So I hear you with that concern. What else? Does anyone else want to share some thoughts? Yeah, go right ahead.
I guess I'm more concerned not just for us, but also for the freshmen, because I'm a sophomore, so I remember last year how important it was for me to get out of my dorm, go meet people, just to kind of feel like I wasn't alone in a big scary place that's so far away from my house. So I guess I'm more concerned for the freshmen, not just I'm also concerned for all of us, because I understand how isolating it can be if you do have to quarantine, if you are trying to be as safe as possible. So I guess I'm just concerned about the isolation aspect when you're already in such a new environment.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Can I also share?
Go right ahead, yeah.
I'm a little more concerned about the surrounding community than I am about the college, just because Gettysburg as a borough isn't as enforcing of the policy of wearing masks. I know a lot of people who are at the college right now have expressed with me, or who even live in Gettysburg, have expressed that nobody's really taking it seriously. People are just walking out and walking around and about, and there's still tourism happening, a lot of the ghost tours, and people aren't wearing masks at all. And so I feel even though we're trying to be as safe as possible, we are an open campus, so anybody, and even a lot of the ghost tours just walk in and walk around the campus, and they're not really abiding to any of the guidelines and any of the rules. And so that is kind of also just a very scary thing, because we can do as much as we can as leadership and as people enforcing these things. But if there's going to be surrounding people just coming in and being a part of the Gettysburg College community, that can also very much jeopardize the rest of the semester.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. So I don't live directly in Gettysburg. I'm actually up in the Harrisburg area, and my dad constantly comments. My dad actually lives in Fairfield, so right one town over, and he constantly says I was at the grocery store and I had to ask someone to stand 6 feet behind me and those sorts of things. So that's a really valid point of we can control within our own groups, right, very well, but then it's also about the entire community adhering to this. And 4th of July was a crazy weekend for Gettysburg as a whole. And I think that they saw the impact of that based on, I know that Gettysburg police officers then became infected after dealing with crowds on battlefields and that sort of thing. So yeah, no, exactly. That's a great point. When we're not separated from, the city or the town, and we're right smack dab in the middle, other people's actions influence us just as much as our actions are influencing the community around us. So excellent point. Thank you. Macy, did you want to share something? I can tell when you unmute yourself, just so you know, you pop up. So I see you like sort of move around on my little screen. So don't be freaked out if I call you by name, because I noticed an unmuting.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the college's clear information, because when I was tested the first day, I was told I'd need to be retested and that I didn't need to quarantine the second time. But then yesterday in training, I was told I need to quarantine the second time. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing or who to ask at this point, because it's both like people with authority telling me different things. So I think that needs to be a lot clearer before the most of campus gets back.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And to be honest, Macy, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not involved with the testing aspect. I would say refer all your questions to health services. Okay, I think we have another one here. Another sharing comment, go right ahead.
Building off the comment that Hera had about the community not really being as safe, is taking that up to the state level. And what I fear is something similar to what happened during the second week of spring break, when the college had our own rules for everyone moving their stuff out. And then without warning, the state came in and said, no, everything's closed. You can't do that. And I'm worried about being caught in a similar situation this fall, of everything is going relatively all right at Gettysburg, and then suddenly the state says, go away.
No, that's definitely a good point. I feel like the state might have it a little bit more put together than they did back in March, but that might be putting too much faith in political leaders just in general. Things change on a daily basis, and I think that sometimes we have swift reactions, and it is scary that we could be doing everything right, adhering to everything that we have outlined, and then all of a sudden the next day drastic changes. So I hear you, and I understand that, because we're all sort of in this time of uncertainty together, and so I totally understand that. We have another one coming in here.
I'll try to make this really quick, but I'm really worried about the academic experience, because I'm a second year, and last year it was really important that I could go to class and meet the professors and pop in their rooms and ask them questions. And I think it's just going to be really hectic and confusing to kind of get to know and adjust to certain classes and study in groups and stuff like that, and just like stay on top of schoolwork.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge adjustment. I hear you with that. I mean, even us with our, yesterday the question came up, are you going to be meeting with people in person in your office? And, I'm one of the few people that has an office large enough to do that. But not everyone does. And we also don't want to put a student in a situation where maybe they're not comfortable. If they don't want to come meet with me in person, that's fine. We can meet on Zoom. So I think that there are definitely, it's going to be different. And I'm hoping that our faculty are going to communicate those changes. So like, if you want to schedule, time for office hours, here's how you do it. Here's how we can connect. I know there are some faculty, last week was my first week back on campus, and faculty that I had meetings with, they were like, well, do you want to meet outside? We still had our masks on. We were still socially distanced from each other. We were adhering to the, no more than 2 people at this table guideline, right? that we're seeing now. But it just felt a little bit different, right? But I was still able to see them in person, because that is so important to the experience and to that academic experience, is having some in-person time. Kay, were you going to say something else?
Yeah, I was just going to piggyback off of hers, because the academics is definitely like a main concern, like the library, if that's going to be open. I remember like I spent basically my entire freshman year in a library, especially like in one of the little rooms. So I guess I'm just more nervous about not being able to study as effectively. And I mean, like sophomore year for STEM majors is not really the best. I'm taking like orgo chem and cell bio at the same time, and it's kind of spooky to like not be able to do the same study patterns as I would have. So I guess, yeah, I'm definitely nervous about that. Like that's such a valid fear.
Yeah, so the library is open. They actually put out a really awesome video yesterday or the other day. It sounds like an airline announcement, and it talks about everything that's going on in there. So I would recommend watching it because it's very funny. So I really appreciate all you sharing. I'm sure we could probably talk for a huge amount of time about everyone's concerns, but I want to make sure that we can continue through this, so then that way I can get some feedback from you all at the end. So, all right, so let's just talk. We're just going to go through this again. I know you've heard it before, but I think it's important that we reiterate it, because I think it's important for everyone to understand these are the expectations, and to hear it over and over again and talk about what the proper things to do are. So, you've probably seen a lot of stuff coming out from the CDC regarding how to slow the spread of COVID-19. So we know good hand hygiene, wearing our masks, staying 6 feet apart from each other. So that's social or physical distancing, however you want to, refer to it. Staying at home if you're sick, cleaning and disinfecting, all of those things, super, super important to ensure that we can slow the spread of COVID-19. So we'll hit a couple of these as we go through. I really hope that these videos work. Maybe, there we go, awesome, great. So these are all very quick videos, and I think that they're just great to show again, right? All right, so quick little video, right, showing the importance. I think that there are certain things there that we often forget, like, oh, come on, screens. I hope this one plays too. This one, oh no, I'll have to make sure that that one goes back in. So that's just it has no music with it. It's just talking about who should wear a face covering. So, we on campus are saying everyone needs to be wearing a face covering. Especially in public settings, pretty much anywhere on campus, unless you are in your own room or you are in your bathroom, those like the bathroom on your floor, that sort of thing. As we know, COVID-19 can spread through asymptomatic people, so people that are not showing symptoms. And so that's why it's important for everyone to wear that face covering and to practice that social distancing. Already talked about, wearing your face covering on campus pretty much anytime, except when you're eating or you are in your direct room assignment or in your residence hall bathroom. So important things to remember.
Amanda, really quickly, there was one about what you just said. There was one thing that popped up in my head yesterday.
Yeah.
Since students would have to be required to get tested in order to get their key, and they have to remain quarantined in their room until they get their results back.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one thing that is a little concerning is obviously we don't know if anybody has been exposed until after the results come through.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like hypothetically, if a student was already exposed and they don't know that, and then they would be exposing the person that they would be quarantine with.
Right.
So obviously there probably isn't a good way to work around that, but I suppose it's just a concern that's just going to have to be there, I suppose.
Yeah, no, and that's a totally valid concern. One thing that I would say is that we do have protocols in place right now for when a roommate tests positive, so what that looks like, and that's going to follow the same suit during this, testing period as we're bringing people back. So I think, if someone wants to wear their mask in their room, I am 100% supportive of that, until your test results come back. That makes sense. And, know that we do have protocols in place in order to make sure that people are, safe in their rooms and on campus. So I'm really sad that this one also is not working. The CDC, I will say, moves their videos like crazy. So I'm going to have to double check of what's happening with this one. But really important to know when you're wearing your face covering that you are washing your hands before you are putting it on. I don't know how many people can truly honestly say, yes, I wash my hands every time before I put my face mask on. I know I do. I'm hand sanitized like crazy. I did before COVID, and I especially do now, and I wash my hands often. I even have a shirt now that says I was washing my hands before it was cool. That was my quarantine gift. So make sure that your face mask is covering your nose and under your chin. It is snugly against the sides of your face and that you can breathe. There are tons of different masks out there. I'm sure by now you all had some time to figure out what works for you, which face masks you like, which face masks you don't like. For those wearing glasses, you understand how hard it is to find the right mask that doesn't fog your glasses. I get it. So it is important to know that there are different kinds out there. As long as you find one that works for you, that's the important thing. So taking off your face mask, I see so many people often touching their face masks. And the one thing that I would say to that is that's kind of, especially when you are taking it off, after you get back to your room, after being around campus, you want to make sure that you're avoiding touching the front of your face mask and you are untying or unhooking the straps behind your ears. Or if you have one that goes around your total head, you want to make sure that you're removing those carefully. And then folding it together so the inside is exposed, making sure that it is, put into the laundry or, hand washed right then and there. There are actually really great videos that show how to properly disinfect your mask if you are hand washing. That is in the Moodle online education. And then, of course, you want to wash your hands after you remove it. So I already talked a lot about the do's and don'ts, but that's just a little picture there for you. And then this is a really great video. There is a wonderful organization out of Atlanta called Big Facts, Small Acts. And what they are doing is they're actually encouraging mask use and social distancing guidelines in Atlanta, which we know that has had really high rates of COVID-19. So this is a really great little video that I will share with you all.
Sometimes people will get you down and get back up. It's not the end of the world. Although when they feel like that sometimes it's so simple. Simple as 1, 2, 3. Call your feet, you gotta hold your head high. Yeah, you always right. Anybody know what you doing today?
All right, so just a quick little video. Like I said, Big Facts, Small Acts. I would recommend checking them out on social media. They have tons of great pictures. They are currently in the process of putting masks on a whole bunch of the street art in Atlanta. So their mission is to really make sure that underrepresented communities are getting the facts and having the resources to protect themselves. So really great organization, highly recommend checking them out. Just a video there. So hand washing, Never thought that I would have to ever talk about how to properly wash our hands, but there have been some pretty interesting things that we have seen regarding how little people actually spend washing their hands. So once again, I'm going to have to check out what's happening with those videos. So sorry, y'all. But so you want to make sure that you're washing your hands often. For at least 20 seconds. I think the most recent study that I saw is that people on average wash their hands for 6 seconds, which is really not a long time. So want to make sure that we're using soap and water if it's readily available, and if not, using a hand sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol. So really important to make sure that you're doing that. Don't touch your face with unwashed hands, all that good stuff. So cleaning and disinfecting, oh good, this one works. So important to remember that you are cleaning and disinfecting your personal space. So your residence hall room, that you are, wiping down the handle of your door, that you are wiping your desk down, all of that good stuff. And then also it's important to know that if there is a case, this sort of goes back to the point regarding the question that came up about, well, what if a roommate is, test positive? So facilities is going in, they're doing a cleaning process. We have a whole bunch of protocols in place. One thing that you're probably going to see in some of like the smaller study rooms or smaller conference rooms are these self-serve disinfecting stations that have been put out by facilities. We encourage you when you are entering a space to wipe down the desk, wipe down the table, and then when you are leaving, do the same thing. So important things to remember there. So physical distancing or social distancing, you'll hear me use both words interchangeably. The college is really using the term physical distancing, but they both pretty much mean the same thing. So it's making sure that you are, maintaining a 6-foot distance between yourself and another person. And I know that that is not normal for our students. I was actually kind of surprised because I thought to myself, I thought everyone tried to maintain 6 feet distance from other people. I might just, not like to be super close to people, and that's okay. So for me, this has been a great time because now I don't have anyone close to me. In the stores, I see it, people trying to avoid other folks. So that is good. So keeping that 6 feet distance between yourself and others is one of the best tools, along with wearing a face covering and washing your hands to avoid being exposed to the virus. So as I have said already, even folks that are not showing symptoms can still spread the virus through sneezing and respiratory droplets. So that's why having that 6-foot distance is important. You're going to see on campus new occupancy of spaces. These new numbers are in place to ensure that spaces around campus allow for physical distancing within that space. So, the Cub looks super different. If you've seen the pictures that the college has put out for a fall return, it looks very different than it has in previous years. And it should be practiced at all times on campus in combination with other everyday preventative actions. So I know that you all talked about the student health agreement already. It seems like yesterday. So this is just a review of what that student health agreement contained. So, making sure that you're taking care of your personal hygiene, following the quarantine and isolation protocols that is put in place. And so if there is a positive test, essentially, we are reminding the students, this is what that protocol says. This is what it looks like for you. These are the steps that you should be taking. Not hosting off-campus guests in your residence, including students that are studying remotely. That's an important thing to remember. The one that, has already come up, will students not party? So not to attend or host social events with alcohol of more than 25 people, or any social event where 6-foot distancing cannot be maintained on campus or off campus. So, I think that that's going to be probably a huge challenge for some folks, maybe not for all. Some people are going to be like, this is great. It gives me a really great excuse why I don't go to that party. So, something to think about. The college is taking this very seriously. So understanding that a potential consequence of violating the student health agreement could be being asked to leave campus. It could be being suspended. All of those things are on the table, and we, fully intend to hold people accountable when we are made aware of violations of this. So definitely something to know. Okay, so what are you gonna do if you see someone not following guidelines? This is a time to share. Like, what have folks found, to work for each other? Thoughts on that?
I think the first time you see it, I would confront the person directly, because they might have just simply forgotten to bring a mask. And then if I think everyone makes mistakes. I think if you see that person violating it more than once, then maybe talk to someone higher up. But I still think that the first best step is to talk to the person directly.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Sydney. Anyone else want to share?
I have something. I know over the summer, as kind of things were starting to reopen in my state, at least, I'm in Pennsylvania, as things were starting to reopen, a lot of, my friends from home and my family members were reaching out more and more, asking to hang out or see each other and all that kind of stuff. And my dad just gave the advice that you should surround yourself with people that have your same kind of view on this as you do. So whereas my family's taking it seriously, I do have some cousins that maybe weren't taking it as seriously. So I avoided, spending time with them because I knew that they weren't doing the same kind of practices that I was doing. So I think the same goes for on campus. If you know of somebody that wants to maybe hang out or bring you to a place or invites you somewhere, and you know that they're not taking it as seriously as you are, you can use that as your, way to try to maybe not get in super close contact with them.
Yeah, no, that's definitely great. Does anyone else have things to share? Or, maybe there's something that has worked for you in the past. Like I said, my dad is very outspoken. He will tell someone to stand 6 feet behind him if he's in line at the grocery store, or ask someone hey, where's your mask? Or, wearing your mask, so that your nose is totally exposed, and instead your mask is just a beard catcher or a crumb catcher. You got to wear it over your nose and on your face properly. Has anyone found anything that has been effective?
Well, I would just say if someone's not following the rules, it would be very easy to vilify them, but don't do that, because that's not going to make them want to listen. It'll probably just make them go anti to what we're trying to do. So just, be nice, be respectful, just ask them. And at the end of the day, if they don't follow, then that's when you can take extra precautions or steps, but don't start yelling at them, because that won't do anything.
Yeah, most definitely.
Just piggybacking off of what she said, I think it's important to realize that we're all in this together, and this is not just an individual problem. This is going to affect everyone involved. And as long as we can get some sort of camaraderie going and realize that you're not wearing a mask just for yourself, you're wearing it for literally everyone on campus. I think, like she said, not to vilify right away. I think you do have to realize this is new for everyone, and everyone is going to be coming from different places where maybe they didn't take it as seriously back at their home. I'm from Jersey, and my county got hit really, really hard. So I have been taking it seriously for basically the entire time, but I realized that not everyone got hit as hard, so some people might not see it as a big problem. So I think it's really just important to approach it like you would want someone to approach you, and kind of talk with them they're not doing something bad, they're just not aware of how serious it is.
Yeah, great points. So definitely, I think that we've heard some great things. So let's talk about, what doesn't work. So shaming the person, right? Shaming them into wearing a mask or following guidelines is not going to be beneficial in these cases. Threatening them, right? Also not effective. And we've seen this. We've seen it in the news. We've seen people, go to extremes here. Think about how you can be non-threatening, think about being kind and compassionate. You don't want to make that other person feel like they're at fault. Maybe they did just forget their mask. I'm pretty sure we're going to have masks everywhere on campus for folks to grab if they, you know, forgot a mask, you know, maybe it is saying like, hey, did you forget your mask? Do you want me to go run into this building and grab you one? Like offering to help that person out, that would be an important thing. And also, you don't want to ignore the behavior completely because, you know, knowing that we are all in this together, that's really important. So we do want to get to a point where everyone on campus, and we're saying this to faculty, we're saying this to staff, we're saying it to students, you know, and let them know that it's okay to say like, hey, where's your mask? Or, you know, remember, we need to be 6 feet apart. You know, that's super important. This next slide, this is just a really cute, funny thing that actually is in a like guidebook, a funny little guidebook. But you know, like what this is showing is, you know, you can be kind about it, you know, to remind the person to maintain that 6 feet. And, you know, you don't want to, you know, go into a mini lecture about all of the things that, you know, are required of them and, you know, making them feel bad for violating an order, all of that stuff. So just a cute little funny picture there. So what does work? I do think that peer pressure works a little bit, especially in our own personal social spheres, right? So I think it is important. Like I actually went to, you know, a quarantine wedding during all of this. There were only 21 of us. It was outdoors back in June, you know, and we had a set of expectations. And if someone wasn't following that, you better bet someone was going to say something. Or, you know, we all set the example by wearing masks when, you know, we were asked to have the masks on, those sorts of things. So, you know, chances are good if you're in that group and you are all, you know, as was previously said, you know, you are hanging out with like-minded people, folks are going to follow within that group. But you want to make sure that everyone is following those guidelines. You know, gently nudge, but don't get too technical, right? So, you know, you don't want to hop into that lecture. And research is changing pretty much 24/7 right now. So there are different things all the time, you know, that we are seeing about this disease, about this virus and what it is doing. And, you know, it could be years until we truly have the full picture. So, you know, think about ways that you can get that point across that shows the importance of why their actions are, you know, matter, and that can really go a long way. So, so what are some things that you are personally going to do on campus to ensure that we can remain better together? So, you know, I know that as soon as I get out of my car every single day on my way into work, my mask is on. You know, I am following the directional signs in the Cub, which I have needed to figure out still because there are different exits and entrances and all of those things. But, you know, making sure that I'm following, you know, the set of expectations. So what are some things that, you know, you all are doing or plan on doing to ensure that, you know, we can succeed this semester and remain on campus?
I think it's really important to normalize virtual and outside hanging out. And like as student leaders, it's important to start those kinds of situations. So my house has gotten really into Discord over the summer and like just normalizing hanging out like that. So people still feel engaged, but don't feel like they have to go to people's rooms or be in common areas to still have those social interactions.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an excellent point, Gari. Thank you for sharing that. What are some other thoughts that people have or things that, I mean, I'm assuming that everyone's like, I'm going to wear my mask or I'm going to do, you know, wash my hands, that sort of thing. I get it. I would hope that would all be part of the responses, but there's other things. Kay, it looks like you might have something.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to start being like open and honest with the people that I'm hanging around, the people that I'm surrounding myself with, how serious like this potentially is to me, like just personally. And I think it's important to like sit and listen and also realize like other people might have different comfort levels than you, and something that you might see as like safer for you, like as long as it really is just an independent decision, like, and you should also honor your friends' independent decisions. Like, I don't think anyone should be like like angry at their friends for like maybe not going to the common area to hang out, or maybe not going outside to go get lunch. Like, I think we should also normalize those kinds of decisions as not like they don't want to hang out with you and they don't want to be your friend anymore, but more as like they really do have to protect themselves, and you have to realize that other people have different comfort levels.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Some things still give me the heebie-jeebies, right? Like some things I'm like, nope, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. And that's okay. So I think that's a great point. I think we got another one. Yeah.
I think just like as someone who's working with like upperclassmen in like the area that I'm in, we have a big like backyard. So utilizing the space around us and the space that we have like in the house at least to have some sort of like in-person event for those who are comfortable. Just because it's like sometimes, and honestly, it's nice to get a little bit of fresh air too. So having like probably like a community meeting outside, like on like a Sunday or like a Saturday afternoon, just like when it's like nice, the air is hitting you. And so it's like a nice way for everyone to like see each other and still come together as like a house community, but at the same time following all the rules. And I feel like that's something important to take into consideration.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that these are like awesome suggestions that you all are giving. And I really appreciate it. So thank you so much. So, sort of going off of, what some folks have said, setting an example with your own actions is so important, right? Each and every one of us, putting on our masks and maintaining that social distance within our own direct groups, others are going to catch on. So, it might seem super silly to wipe down your, desk every day before you go into that in-person class. And then again, when you leave, but it's going to start to normalize that behavior. No one comes into my office pretty much, but I'm still wiping down my desk and my office furniture daily. Those are the expectations that they have for us. And so it's important to make sure that we are all following that. And so, I think other people in the office might see that and be like, oh yeah, I need to wipe down my desk today, those sorts of things. Ensuring that you are maintaining that physical distance while navigating campus and following the signs, just don't blatantly go into the exit only door when you are entering a building. It may be, relearning a couple things, as we are, coming back to campus and getting used to where are the entrances and where are the exits and, which stairs are up and which stairs are down. But eventually we're all gonna, it will all be second nature. So that's really important. So I want to share, I'm sure hopefully some of you have seen this, but if not, I'm just going to share this now. Kelly, I saw your note that the volume was low. I'm sorry. I have my volume up to like 100 right now. So hopefully everyone can hear this video. I think it's really great. The college just put it out this past week.
Amanda, before you start it, Bridget, what is that trick to make the volume better?
Sorry.
If you like unshare your screen and then reshare your screen, and then at the bottom, right before, like in the window where you're choosing which window you want to share, at the very bottom of that Zoom window, there will be a little checkbox that says share computer sound, and that will send the audio directly through all of our computers instead of like from your speakers into your computer microphone, then to us. This is what we do in the music world.
Thank you, Bridget. You taught me something new. All right, so I need to stop sharing my screen.
She's our sound whiz.
And then this is amazing. Done. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now it's going to be like super loud. Hopefully, it's loading. Better.
Gettysburg. Here, we learn what it means to be resilient. We face the challenges of our time, not for ourselves, but for each other. As we unlock our doors, open our classrooms, welcome you back to this home away from home. Remember what's at stake. Teachers and friends, even your neighbors. We are living history.
Staying on campus will mean staying focused.
Wash your hands, wear your mask, and practice safe physical distancing.
It's not about you or me, it's about us.
If we want to compete this year, it's on us.
If we're traveling this far to go to Gettysburg College, it's our responsibility to stay safe.
This fall is going to be different, but we can do this. So let's commit to being better together.
So like I said, I'm sure some of you have already seen that and did not, and hopefully you enjoyed that, what the college put together. I know that they were working on trying to put together more marketing around this, so I do think that is great, because it is important to remember that we are part of, not only our, so friends on campus, but also the entire campus community. Right.
Your mic is.
Your mic is, yeah, making, it's like echoing.
Hold on. Okay, I have more video, so I was like,
Not better.
I'm still doing it.
Sorry.
that. So hopefully, if you haven't seen that, I hope you enjoyed it. So I apologize for the echoing there. It is important to remember that we are all part of, the larger community, all of that good stuff. So, why this matters, as I said, so we all have this role to play in stopping the spread of COVID-19, taking these steps, following these guidelines, we are protecting ourselves, we're protecting our loved ones, we're protecting, our faculty, our staff, the folks that are, cleaning the bathrooms every day in a residence hall or in a college house. By us taking these small actions, we're protecting those folks. We're protecting, the folks in Servo, all of that. And so it's so important to remember that our actions have such a huge impact. And, we are committing to, being better together and keeping our entire community safe. So that's the presentation. So one thing that we are hoping to add as part of this is going to be some sort of call to action at the end. A lot of schools recently have been doing some social media campaigns around snap a selfie and post, with your mask on, and post it, tag, such and such account, or use whatever hashtag. So our goal is to have some sort of call to action in there. As I said, we had to have some meetings get sort of moved around a little bit because of issues coming back. So any feedback that you all have on the content, like I said, I know that some of it is, repetitive, but I think part of it is making sure that we are setting those expectations and we're making it really clear. I think the other question that I would have in terms of, what feedback do you have about this would also be, do you see, if you had talking points that you could sort of use, would you use this within your organization or with your residents or within your, sports team, that sort of thing? What are your thoughts there? Go ahead. Feel free to start sharing.
I just kind of wanted to go back to the point of how would you go about talking to somebody who probably forgot their mask. I think that this is a space where, and that specifically is a place where we can bring in the implicit bias training that we had to do, everyone in the college had to do, because there are a lot of people, including myself, who just have a natural sass. Who I honestly don't care who it is, who I'm around, and people who know me know that I just have a natural sass about me, and it's not that I'm trying to vilify anybody. It's not that I'm trying to do this or that, or I'm directly saying something. It's just if I feel uncomfortable, I'll just give the example of if somebody is close as is in my bubble, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I would 6 feet. I'm sorry, but 6 feet, farther. Thank you, 6 feet. And it's just that's just me. And it's I feel when we think about and have that conversation of not trying to vilify people. It's taking under consideration that some people are just naturally that way, and it's not like being pointed or directed towards other people. And so probably like when having the conversation with these first years is talking about how this can be a huge space where implicit bias can come into play, implicit and explicit bias, just because it's one of those things where like, oh, well, why are you so rude? Why are you so this and that? Like it shouldn't be that way.
No, that's a really great point. And we can definitely incorporate some of that, you know, within those talking points with that slide. And that, you know, excellent point. Thank you for mentioning it. I appreciate it. I'm taking notes. Don't worry. What else? What other thoughts or feelings?
I think that we could emphasize, especially as residential staff, communication between roommates or suite mates about like maybe forming some type of cleaning routine or schedule or allocating different cleaning responsibilities, and also forming an agreement. Like if one roommate isn't comfortable having a certain number of people in the room, just respecting your roommate's health as well as your own. So I just think a lot more conversation between roommates. I think for the RAs, the roommate agreements will be kind of interesting.
True.
I think just emphasizing like washing hands after going to the bathroom, because I know when I was in Rice Hall, I just feel like people think just because you're in a stall, they can just walk out and they don't like, you can't see what a person is, so you can't judge them. So I feel like emphasizing like hand washing, because some people, I feel like a lot of boys will just like, oh, I don't have to really touch myself to use the bathroom, so I'm gonna just walk on out. And it's like, whether you touch yourself or not, just emphasizing washing your hands, because you got to touch the doorknob and then people touch it after you. So making sure that we emphasize hand washing when going to the bathroom.
I will put that in there. I will say, y'all should know this, but I have heard, right? Something like that. No, I think that that's an excellent point. So thank you. I'm one of those people that prefers having paper towels in a bathroom because I open the door with the paper towel in my hand so I don't have to touch it. Yeah, I'm one of those folks.
Yeah,
So.
about that. I was wondering about that too with paper towels, because like, I don't know, I've seen stuff about hand dryers like spreading germs more than you just washed off after washing your hands. So I was thinking, I don't know, like I'm all for the environment, but I thought maybe it might be beneficial to at least tell the trees to take a hit for a semester for the.
So the Cub actually now has paper towels in the bathrooms. So that's interesting. At least upstairs on our second floor bathroom, we have paper towels. So that was new to us, but yes, I agree. And I think that that's something that, you know, for the college to make that huge shift, you know, they would have to look at that, but I will bring it up again to them. I know we talked about it in March about putting paper towels everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's worth bringing up. And also because the hand dryers, they really don't get your hands completely dry, and wet hands pick up way more germs than dry hands. I don't know. I see a lot of reasons for using paper towels this semester, especially in the dorm bathrooms where, you know, people are going to be moving in, parents are going to be going in and everything. So, I mean, I guess it's probably a little late to implement that on such a wide scale at this point. But yeah, if you could bring that up at some point, I think it's worth doing.
You got it.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Hera. I saw your hand.
And just going off of that, possibly like enforcing like probably like a reusable rag to dry yourself off, because paper towels can also be a very big like reason why, you know, trash and buildup and garbage, and we're also trying to save the environment because.
Well, I think definitely in houses, for example, right, you can probably utilize that a little bit easier than maybe in some residence halls, like, you know, a big common bathroom sort of thing. But I think in the houses, for those of you that are house leaders, or for those of you that are living in houses for the OLs that are on this, it's important to think about, like, you know, you could totally take some time to talk about that within your group, and then say, okay, so, you know, every 2 days, this you know, this hand towel is going to go into the, you know, wash, whatever that might be, having that cleaning schedule like Sydney brought up too. Peter, did you have something? I thought I saw your hand.
Yeah, I was gonna say for people who like run outside or like track and field team, we sort of agreed on to run in the mornings to avoid crowd because it's really hard to run with masks on. So on the battlefield, we usually don't run with masks on. So running in the morning can avoid some of the crowds that we run into.
Yeah, so maybe also including something in this about like think about your own actions and how you can make adjustments, right? And use that example of so let's say you exercise in the afternoon when things are super crowded. Maybe you could go in the morning or go do something else. But if I say morning, then everyone's going to know and it's going to be crazy and the battlefield's going to be packed. No, just kidding. I hate running with a mask too. I go in the morning at like 6:30 with all of the retirees in my town. They are on this like big park that just has a loop and they all know who I am now. And I know all of their names because they're worried about having heart attacks. That's what they said to me. They were like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I thought it was very cute, but regardless, we all maintain 6 feet distance too. So anyway, go ahead, Gary.
I thought Matt brought up a really good point about sustainability. And I think that that's something that I've been thinking about a lot because, like I packed a lot of disposable masks, but obviously like that's really upsetting. So like thinking about ways to have, because I have people in my house that are like really concerned about being sustainable, which is a good thing, obviously, and talking about ways that we can be safe, but also trying to like make reparations. So for like, we're obviously using a lot more of like disposable packaging to take our food home and like talking about washing out those packages to put them in the recycling rather than like throwing them in the trash and kind of reframing instead of saying like bring Tupperware and things like that. How can you use all the plastic you're using and then try your best to still try to help the environment while still being safe in COVID?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think that there are valid times to use a disposable mask versus like a reusable one. And maybe that's also something that I can include in this is talk about like, there might be a time that you have to use a disposable mask and that's okay. But think about, make sure. I get very sad every time I do go into a parking lot and I see masks just sort of strewn about, or when everyone was wearing gloves in the grocery store and you'd see their plastic gloves on the ground. And I'm just thinking some bird is going to eat that and then die. Like that's concerning. So, but no, that's a really excellent point. Making sure that we are, if we are choosing to use something that is a one-time use, how do we properly dispose of that? So no, I think that that's definitely something that I can, put in here also. So anything else? Any other thoughts, feelings? Go ahead, Bridget. Yeah.
Yeah, so one thing that I guess I've been kind of concerned about as we move forward is how, and that I just didn't end up seeing that much in the presentation. I get that it's about like guidelines and regulations and stuff, but wondering about if there's any way we can incorporate some information about mental health and counseling services, or ways to kind of support your peers and do things for yourself to kind of recognize and understand the situation that we're in. Not only for our first years who are entering a whole new situation that they've never been in, and then on top of it deal with COVID, but also a lot of our returning students who are going to be dealing with a lot of like mixed feelings as we come back. And I would think it would be valuable to have some information about that, even if it's just like, here's counseling services, here's their phone number, here's their webpage, something just to acknowledge that that is part of remaining safe through this whole thing. I would really appreciate it.
No, great point. Like I said, I think that's why I was, when Allison said, hey, are you presenting this to the RAs? And I said, can I use them to get feedback? Because that's the thing is that sometimes when it's, Jeff Foster and myself sending ideas back and forth to each other about what should be included, we don't think about, these components that are so important to our students. And by having the content in here, even if it's another student facilitating this, students are going to feel more buy-in to the messaging and what we're saying. So I really appreciate everything that you all are saying. Is there anything else that you all want to add?
I wanted to talk about like kind of thinking about what time you're going shopping. So kind of like off the running point. Yeah. Because some of us have to go shopping for our groceries. So just like think about what time is like Giant or Kenny's going to be like the least crowded to keep like everyone the most safe. So it's kind of, that could be like combined with the like, when are you doing your morning exercise?
Yeah, no, I love that, because maybe not everyone exercises, right? That is true. Not everyone's going to choose to do that, but it is important to start to think about like, how can we adjust our day to day, right? Like to make things work for us and not put ourselves at risk. And I love that point. That's really great.
Back to the towel thing, very passionate about it. I just checked Amazon real quick, and I found 100 towels, like reusable, washable towels for $30, and they come in blue and orange. So I don't know if there's room in the RFYP budget or something, but if any RAs are trying to go splits with me, I don't need 100 of them. We'd give them we'd give one to our residents, like a blue and orange one for each room, so they don't get them mixed up. I don't know, just spitballing here.
I'm leaving that to the Res Life staff that's on this call.
All right.
I do want to say I've tried hand towel, or I've wanted to try hand towels in my house, but even the kitchen ones get really nasty really quickly. So unless you want like a personal one, I'm not sure that that's like actually going to be clean after, say, like 2 people use it.
Yeah, no, it'd be like a personal one, like you give like put them on the door for the residents before they move in, something like that. So like they have it and they can reuse it, and like they take it to the bathroom with them when they go. It's not like something that they would like keep there. I don't know.
I feel like Brooke has something to say.
Yeah, we can touch base about the towels off of the Zoom so that we can wrap up so we can get on to our next training. But Matthew, I know how you feel about germs. I feel similarly. So we'll make a plan, folks.
Thank you.
So real quickly, is there anything else that anyone wants to share?
So the one thing, I think this is more important for move-in, like how exactly do we plan on enforcing mask wearing for parents? Because even if students are required, I guess parents necessarily technically aren't, plus they could be a little more stubborn about it.
Yeah, so I know tomorrow I am a welcome ambassador in and around the residential areas that folks are moving into. So I will be telling parents, please wear your mask. You are required to wear a mask upon entering, and only one of you is allowed in. Like, you know, I think that I hear you. It's definitely a concern. That's one of the reasons why we're saying, you know, no visitors to campus this year. You know, like the process to bring in a speaker is absolutely ridiculous, because we want to make sure that people are safe and people are following our guidelines. So I hear you, but there are going to be, you know, measures in place to help enforce that with parents and families as move-in is happening over the course of this next week. I don't know, Brooke or Kelly, if there is anything else that you want to add regarding that, but I'm pretty sure that's part of my role as welcome ambassador.
Yeah, definitely. I would echo that, Amanda, as well as if you see someone and you feel comfortable confronting, and this is definitely something that we will touch base on in the presentation that I'm doing next, which is intervening and being a bystander. So segue, anyone? If you feel comfortable making that confrontational remark or saying something to them, do it. Go forward with it. If you don't, that's why there's going to be staff members from the College Life Division, and I'm sorry, I just put a hard candy in, so now I'm drooling, there to help you if you just feel like, hey, can you go say something to that dad? He was really, really rude when I asked him to put his mask on. And then we're the ones who can get a little more confrontational.
Logan, thank you. I got your note. Just so you know, I saw your note that you sent to me regarding admissions on campus. I think that visitors on campus from admissions are being given guidelines prior to arrival. I'm going to assume that's part of it. I would hope so. But yeah, and if you haven't been in and around campus, you know, there's tons of signage, tons and tons of signage. So that's actually one of the things I had reached out to marketing late last week to try to get them to send me like the JPEGs of their signage, because I think it's important to incorporate that into this presentation just so people see it more often, those sorts of things. So if there's other thoughts that you all might have later on, or something comes up to you and you're like, oh my gosh, that would be great, you know, as a like why this matters, you know, send them my way. I will be around this week, like I said, helping welcome ambassador and enforce mask wearing on campus. So I think we're good, but thank you all so much. I appreciate your time. I'm gonna hop off. Enjoy the rest of your training today, y'all.